What is going on, y'all? Hope you are doing well in mind, body, and spirit. I'm Craig Ernst Martin, and I'm super excited to be bringing this conversation, What Men Carry, part three, to you all out everywhere. So we're on LinkedIn, we're on, it looks like YouTube, we're on Facebook. So I'll be checking those places just to see how folks are doing. But I am absolutely excited by these two men who I'm bringing to the conversation. And so if you found it on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and more, or even my email, because I was annoying today, then you know a little bit about these two beautiful men. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Adrian White. I would love for you to introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, how's everybody doing? First, thank you so much for having me. It's always an honor when I can come to someone's platform and speak. But yeah, I'm Adrian White, and in a nutshell, I'm a man who just try to get it right, man. I made too many mistakes to number. And so yeah, every day I just try to get it right, try to be better than I was, the previous day. I also just happen to be a therapist, as well. I've been a therapist for about 13, 14 years now, specializing in working with men and couples. I'm a husband to a beautiful wife, Brittany White, father to a beautiful blended family of eight, seven girls and one boy. So we deep, we deep. But again, thank you all for having me. I look forward to the conversation.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here as well. I'm just honored to be able to, show up in this forum. I am Alan Michael Chess, but I also go by Professor C. I've been working in direct care with humans, with humans since 2012. We're human first, right? And everything else comes after. But what I like to believe is that my path is the merge of mental health, but also creative expression. So where those lanes kind of meet for the benefit of empowerment, right? That's the name of my game. That I really yearn to help others make personal gains through finding their voice, finding their purpose, finding their impact, and kind of using all those things to cultivate healing and move past pain. So I'm very committed to the work, working in direct care, working in home therapy settings, working in group home settings, working in schools, because I'm a licensed mental health therapist and also a licensed school adjustment counselor as well. So I've been in all those different settings. And I think for me, just having that well-rounded perspective of being able to work with people from different environments and settings. Thank you.
Look, I appreciate you both. Why don't y'all share, like, how's y'all heart? How are y'all taking care of yourselves these days?
You got it first, Professor C.
Yeah, I think that we have to recognize that we are healers, but even healers need to heal. So through that, it's about recognizing that through the work, we have to be careful with not allowing vicarious trauma to be an impact in the work that we do. When working with so many individuals from different walks of life who've gone through these different stressors and circumstances, and us kind of being in close proxemics to that, it's very easy for you to kind of take on some of those same characteristics and kind of managing that stress. It can become a burden if you're not taking care of yourself. So for me, I believe really trying to do my best to lean into my faith, practice self-care through going to the gym when I can. And also, again, creative expression, that kind of being my world that I live in, using music, singing, dancing, spoken word as ways to kind of cultivate an experience for healing for myself. But yes, it can be challenging, I think, for us. I think Adrian would agree that we have to be very careful because we work with so many different people. And some of their stories are tragic. So trying to help them overcome their circumstances can be tolling at times.
No, absolutely. Great point. That's a great point. I have a little more control with me being in private practice of who I do get to see though. So that's why I'm like, and in terms of working with couples, I feel like I was created to do that. Like I have the grace because a lot of therapists, they're gonna stay away from couples because it can be a beast. Right. And then, just working with men, it always just does something for me too. But I definitely still have to be mindful that now I'm not carrying those things, especially with the counter transference, right? With the men who remind me so much of myself and not taking that on. So that has been a challenge for me, especially in the past. I'll say currently, I'm struggling, but it's a struggle because it's new. In the place that God has me now, my success is going to be based on my submission. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to having the answers, coming up with the plan, being able to figure it out from a logical sense. But now it's more of me taking steps back and kind of doing it his way and partnering with my wife to do things and learning what this next step is like. And it's just so different for me, but at the same time I'm excited because I'm learning to embrace different, right? Even regardless of what the outcome, will be. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's great. Cause I like that you said that because I always tell my clients that in order to see different, one has to do different. So it's recognizing that what you thought was working before is no longer working. So what path are you willing to take to gain something different than you've seen before?
Hey, I'm sorry, y'all. Listen, you, I was literally just praying, right before we jumped up here, and I'm like, God, I see you literally have me in a space to where I have to do it how you want me to do it, or I'm not going to be able to manage everything. Like, so we finally here now. I can't wiggle my way out of it, right? Like, I can't Adrian or therapist my way out of this thing no more. This is going to be the only way. Got you, got you. You know what I mean? So you're right on point when you say, hey, we have to start doing things differently if we want to see what those other results look like.
Absolutely.
So, admittedly, there are so many of us who are leading in our families or in our relationships, our situationships, if that's your thing, right? And might be fathers, you might be uncles, you might be out on your own and it's hard enough trying to just take care of you by yourself. So what we naturally do is find ourselves like finding resonance when we are scrolling, right? We're scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, whatever is your field. Like it could be Facebook, that is your thing. And so what we are finding is there's a lot of different folks who are talking about I don't think we've ever seen so much abundance in regards to talking about health and mental health and men having these conversations in a way, at least that is showing up in my scroll in my feed. For those who are watching live, like we know the statistics that men generally are not showing up to get therapy or not showing up to take care of ourselves in the ways that we are supposed to, and we see the detrimental impact of also our boys also when they are not being taught or they're not seeing models of how to take care of themselves in a healthy way, mind, body, and spirit, that there's higher rates of suicide ideation. They're leaning in more to violence, and I'm like, the doom scroll is real. But it's interesting. We're in mental health month right now, and so I'm curious for both of you. I'm being petty on purpose. Like, are there some things you're seeing when everybody's got their statistics and graphics and all this on the social media, but y'all are live practitioners. So I'm curious if you're seeing some stuff where people are absolutely wrong about what they're posting, or are you seeing some controversial people who call themselves experts doing this work and how does that feel for you?
Okay. So I think that it's very important to discern. I believe that we have to help our clients. I call it testing the reality that
Mhm.
sometimes what the media portrays is not actually what's going on. But propaganda has been in the media since the beginning of time. I believe that the media has a way of writing our stories for us, deciding that they're going to tell us who we are. And I say, no, you're not. So a lot of what I do is helping my clients realize that they get to create their story arcs
Mhm.
beyond what any news outlets says, beyond what someone who didn't grow up with them has said, beyond what majority says, that you get to choose what you are and who you want to be. So kind of leaning into that purpose and taking control of the narrative is really about taking your power back and deciding that I'm no longer going to let you tell the story the way you want to tell it because you believe that that is the way that it is because of some experience that you've had. That's just not, I don't believe that that's right. And I believe that we have an obligation to advocate for those who are not yet ready to advocate for themselves. So while we're helping our clients cultivate their voice, we need to be the voices for them to kind of, work against that adversity that's meant to kind of set each other back or have each other work against each other to say that the table was not big enough for all of us to sit together. I just do not believe that. So I'm all about empowerment. I'm all about fighting against the negative things that are kind of put out into media, especially for our youth. especially for our youth. Kind of seeing these things. Sociology 101 says that if someone tells you something long enough and you sit there, eventually you're going to believe it unless you're willing to challenge that narrative. So I'm all about critical thinking skills. Just because something's put out there, do your own research to see what statistics say and all these other things. And even then make your own decisions and don't just kind of lean into what the majority tells you has to be the truth, because that's absolutely false. So from that lens, I think that it's really, really important that we're leaning into that and helping our clients kind of work through what is reality, and like what is reality, and what are our stories versus what is being put out there as our stories. Because there's a very big difference there.
Yo, Professor C, I ain't gonna make you go first every time, man. But I just love hearing you talk. You be breaking that thing down, man. You be breaking that thing down.
Thank you.
But yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think one of the seasons that I'm walking in my life, though, is I pick and choose my battles, right?
Hmm.
So even though I look at social media and I see all of this warn and the negativity and what it's doing, that's not my fight, right? I don't go back and forth with fools anymore.
Hmm.
I'm not about to over explain anything anymore. It's too many things that I'm trying to do, and it's too many people who are naturally coming to me, right? So I don't try to convince anyone anymore, period. To Professor C's point, it is all about empowerment. I'm big on empowerment. I'm big on educating, right? Once I can get a client to understand that their perspective is everything, but you can choose to shift your perspective, right? And so, like for an example, when I work with mostly men, right? When I'm working with them as regards to their marriage, I'll ask them, "Hey, who taught you how to be a husband?" And most times than not, nobody. I'm figuring it out on my own. I say, okay, cool. If I wanted to build a house, but I don't know what I'm doing, is that house safe? No.
Hmm.
So why are you doing that when it comes to being a husband and think that it's going to work out?
Hmm.
And once that clicks, now they're open to, well, what I need to do. Okay, first, let's do some research, right? Don't just take what I say. I want you to look up different things, look up different modalities and ways of communication. Go do the research. Everything that somebody is successful in life, they had to study for it, or they hired and paid people so they could skip some steps. If you want to be successful in marriage, if you want to be successful in business, if you want to be successful and even figuring out how you spend time with you got to invest in yourself and do it. The other thing is I'm learning that it's so many different worlds within this world,
Hmm.
right? I be on podcasts and people are, the men versus women and this and that. And I'm like, I literally don't see that, right? And now I travel, I talk different places, I'm licensed in multiple states. I don't see that. Even the narrative of men don't go to therapy. What do you mean? Men are reaching out to me all the time, especially younger men, 20s, early 30s. Hey, I just want my purpose. Hey, I want to get married, but I'm not enough. Like these men are foaming at the mouth for help and for support. But social media will play it as, oh, we all narcissists. Oh, we think we know everything. Oh, we're just no, that's a small world. It is so many other worlds. And so I encourage men like, yo, try to tap into these different worlds. What you know is not all that's out there.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I agree with him, and I believe that that's why it's important for us to be in these spaces, right? Representation, because it was once believed everyone had this idea in their mind, what a therapist look like, and I can guarantee that it didn't look like either one of us. So the fact that we're able to kind of sit here now, and it's like, aha, we can sit here too and do the things that other people were doing before us. So that is a part of that empowerment and rewriting that narrative, is that we need representation in these spaces, because that's how you build trust. That is a way for accountability, because you have someone who understands your reality, the things you've gone through, the stressors, the adversity, everything that you face. Because we've also had to face it. We've dealt with depression, anxiety, all these things. I know what it's like to be in poverty, growing up, rough sometimes. I know what these things are like, and what they have been for me. But I'm also able to kind of sit here and say that I want others to also overcome some of those struggles. And sometimes we're still struggling. I mean, I'm not like this every day, but I'm like this now. And I'm just saying, from that lens, that goes back to the reality that we're human. Sometimes we got to let our hair down too, or lack thereof. But I digress.
Wow. So I appreciate you both in really pushing us to dispel the myth that we as men don't actually get the support we need. But it's really hard to discern that when you have figures like Dr. Cheyenne Bryant out here in the world. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say what I said. But you think about like the show Today's Conversation. Admittedly, it's one of the shows it's like my go-to on YouTube. I also watch Karamo, lots of Karamo,
Hmm.
because what I want to see is the kind of posture of what does healing look like? What is it? I want to listen to the men and women share their perspectives about, the choices that people are making or why it is that they are or not in relationship. But ultimately, I want to understand what they value. And since they have such a huge platform, people will find themselves thinking that that's therapy or that's help, that is healing,
Hmm.
because it resonates, because that space really does something for them that may not do what we are projecting that therapy would do. And so I just wanted to, lean into more of like, well, what does that work look like for you in regards to supporting, boys and men in the work that you do as a licensed, you know, therapist and licensed professionals in social work and all the things.
Got you. So, and I'll say this too. I'm so glad that I'm at a space in my career, like I said, where I have my private practice. So I pretty much can kind of do it how I want to do it, right? Outside, but of course, there's guidelines. I'm not going to do no harm, things like that. But I'll say what I enjoy most is I love groups. So I got men's groups that I do, and I just started a husband group
Mm.
just for husbands because I feel like we're the one group that nobody supports. You don't see nothing for husbands. Hey, let me give you this. It's for everybody else, right? But but I love groups. I love the and just being able to show up. Like I've noticed a trend in men that I've been working with that once we get through like the difficult things and they become empowered, they still want to see me just to have the space and the connection. And I think that's the piece that's I know well, that's the piece that's lost with social media and the TV shows and all of the podcasts. People are not connecting like they used to be. It's different when you can sit in the same room with somebody who looks like you and who genuinely cares, but they do know, hey, you gotta run me my coins because it is a service still, right? But I still care as well too because you look like me, and they feel it. And for me to be someone who has made so many mistakes, right? Yeah, I have been broke. I have been divorced. That's why, hence, I have a blended family. I have lost everything and rebuilt everything. So when I run into men, hey, I'm having issues, baby mama. Check, I've been there. I know exactly what those feelings like. I know exactly what it's like to get on the other side. To just be able to affirm them and them to see somebody who has literally gone on the other side, but I don't need to bash nobody for it. It's like, hey, it's possible. It's possible. It's not just something you're scrolling on a screen or that you're watching, and it's like, yeah, I can do that. But then as soon as you leave it, it's not connecting because you're not in the same, space as those people. So, which is the reason why I chose to, get my office and say, hey, no, I'm gonna continue to do in person, right? Even though, hey, I'm getting more virtual stuff. Shoot, let me wait. I don't need no office. I can do this. I'm in my wife's office at the house right now, but I'm like, you know what I'm saying? You could cut that, save that bread, but it's like, no, like people really need connection and to be connected with the right people. And that's not going to always come from the people with the biggest voices.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I work with couples too. I also work with married couples, couples that are not married, but also work with fathers and sons and families and individuals as well. Also in private practice and in other places as well. So I'm kind of having that lens of working with people again from different demographics makes both of us well-rounded therapists to be able to kind of pivot when we need to pivot, improv when we need to improv, right? So for me, I think a lot of the work has to do with one's identity. That in order for one to really get to a place of empowerment is in can you recognize who you are? Tell me who you are. I want to know who you are, not who someone told you have to be, but when you look in that mirror, you can tell me exactly without hesitation who that person is. A lot of times I don't know. Well, someone said that I was this. Someone said that I was that. So there's a lot of uncertainty into one's identity when someone has, again, told you who you were for so long. If someone's already telling the story for you, why put in the work? Why not just be what you want me to be? And that is because that's the easy route to take, right? If you just be what is decided for you, then there is no challenge. There's no growth because the growth is built in discomfort. So it's about breaking down those layers of generational and complex trauma that exists, especially as it relates to one's identity. Because I believe that in some regard, upbringing, family upbringing, early attachment, family dynamics, all of those things are infused into one's identity because once we leave the nest, we then can begin to recreate the dynamics of relationships that we've seen play out in our family. And that's problematic for a lot of reasons because what happens is if there were needs that were never addressed in the family dynamic, trauma never spoken about, even withholding things or saying we don't talk about what happens in the house, that's a form of trauma because it prevents one from expressing themselves fully and authentically for what they went through. There's a lot of holding things in, and that then goes on into the new dynamic. So with wife and kids, and subconsciously, it's not by choice, but it's because that is what you have become accustomed to being in that dynamic and have not done something different. So peeling back those layers, recognizing where this stems from. You always have to go back to the onset. Where did it start? Because if you can figure out where it starts, hopefully we can get to a place to end it so that it does not continue on in future relationships.
Hey, Professor C, man, where I get the book at, man? Yeah, where I get your book at, man? Nah, man, I love the way you broke it down and you touched on it, identity and
Mhm.
purpose. And most people, they don't even know, even the answer they think they know, they don't even know where it comes from. Right? Like I have so many young men, yeah, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm not established, I don't even got a house. You're 22. So you're not supposed, so I asked them, so you're not supposed to be where you are at according to who? I, I don't know. Okay, well, let's look at some data.
Mhm.
Let's look at some numbers. Like, let me
Mhm.
start to expose you to what things are, and then they finally see, okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. Well, now let's build it, right? To Professor C's point, hey, you can start to shape it now that you're not in the
Exactly.
hole. So let's do some research. Let's see what things look like. Hey, men, we really don't hit our prime until we 45, 50. That's when we there. You Oh, okay. So yeah. So what are the things that are important now that you can control? You can control your I mean, you can control your character, how you
Mhm.
treat people, right? These are the things that you could build that can't be taken away from you. You could lose a job, you could lose money, right? But you being a man of your word, you choosing to prioritize you and taking care of yourself physically and spiritually and doing what
Mhm.
you say you're gonna do and committing to yourself. These are things that you could work on and can that be enough for you? Seeing how these are things nobody can take away from you. And then once they start buying into that, they start to just like take off, man. They take
Mhm.
off, man. So identity, purpose is huge. And again, I can't reiterate enough how many men are flocking out because they want it. They want it.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt the flow. I know that for me, I'm at a very interesting place in my beyond the 40s now. Like I'm in my 40s. I'm a little further along, and I believe that I'm starting to come into who I am supposed to be. But I do recognize that the 14-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 22-year-old Craig all still have healing work to do because when we look at the hypersensitive world of social media and TV and pop culture and just the world at large, the world we're shaped by me is saying like you need to have done all these things. You need to be holistic. If you look at some of the television shows where they're like, I don't understand why you ain't coming here well adjusted. One of the things is still a pain in my behind, and I would be real grown, but y'all seem to be such great Christian folks. I'm not gonna cuss. I'm gonna try not to anyway. But I find it interesting that when you talk about don't cry, don't, be a man, suck it up, and those things. And someone said this to me one time, or they made this illustration. So you're saying that you don't want a man who is going to be emotionally, connected to you, that actually will be more cagey than anything. We know how dangerous it is when a man has all these feelings and emotions that at some point erupting because you've told him that being a man means that you should not be emotional. We saw, I'm gonna poke at Cheyenne Bryan again because she, how she, raised up at Torre in an interview, right? you're too feminine, you're too soft, I feel sorry for your wife. She said these things. And so we do have some men who believe in very in this vision of what manhood looks like, but we also are in a hypersensitive pop culture environment that is redefining what that make of man looks like. So how are you walking with young boys, young men, or men at large around this dichotomy of, if I didn't have a father who illustrated and modeled these particular expectations, these beliefs of this walk, then I'm kind of pulling the man together based on what's around me. So how are you experiencing that with the men and boys you're working with? And what are some of the ways that you are helping to course correct that?
Yeah. So I'll say that it's really about assessing beliefs and values. What's the framework for what you believe and how did you come to believe that? So I believe beliefs and values are really important. So what do you value? As a man, what does that mean for you? Because for me, being a man could be defined as something different for someone else. So, what are the characteristics that would make for a quote unquote a good man or respectable man, right? God fearing man. What does that mean? Like, what characteristics does one have to have? So, I think kind of breaking that down a bit to recognize what you would like to keep in some regard. Because you're right, not all of us. I have a strained relationship with my father, but he was definitely involved, and I also have a stepfather as well. So I've always had a father figure in my life growing up. But in that kind of navigating that, right, having my bio dad and then my stepdad, going through that, I think was challenging a bit growing up. So I think kind of having some clients I work with, kids even, that might be in blended families or they're adopted, right? Or the uncle or someone is taking on that role, or the grandfather is taking on that role, that there's a different dynamic depending on what the roles are that have been identified in that family. So education surrounding roles that have come up in those dynamics is important as well, right? Like the caretaker, they hate this, but like the black sheep, the golden child, the nurturer, the hero, that all these names kind of come up. So kind of having that framework and then having clients kind of look at the different descriptors, I think helps them to kind of put two and two together in terms of like what they've seen and, aha, I resonate with that, or I resonate with this. I think it's helpful to kind of use that, so to speak, as a screening to kind of break down some of those things that they would not have been able to explain without a resource. I think that's why, me and Adrian here, it's important that we do have the expertise to be able to pull from resources and bring these things into sessions for our clients, because visuals help. We can talk about it all day, but giving them something that's tangible that they can read after the session, I think is very, very important.
Dang, absolutely. My man don't miss. You need to change your name to Don't Miss. He don't miss, man. He don't miss. But yeah, absolutely. Everything starts with a session. We want to gather information. We want to get a clear picture and understanding of where they are at. And then try to get them to see where they are at. And then start entering other information to kind of see, to then get them to see, okay, am I okay with where I am at?
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm looking at it from different perspectives. And that again goes back to the empowering and making them aware that, hey, oh, I have options. Oh, so just because I see things this way, it doesn't mean this is like reality or even true. Right. And then from there, I think it can go either way depending on what's needed, because we do need different things. That's where making it individualized, and person centered, client centered comes into play. But I think there's a longing in young boys, young men, and even older men, the feeling of being fathered. You have men who are, now we're fathers and we're husbands, right? But we don't know what it's like to be a son and to have that protection, that love in growing up. And that's a piece of us that needs to heal, but we're not aware of that. We don't even know how that shows up. Right. And so since we never had that, now our us wanting to control and overprotect and not trusting, that's skewed. That's why it is so difficult for us to open up, because we didn't have a man to be there where we could be open and do whatever and learn the way that we could learn while still being loved and cared for. And that's even men who've had their father in the home, right? Because a lot of our fathers and grandfathers didn't know how to do it. Now, of course, when I'm working with men, I don't, oh, you're just looking to me for a little bit of fathering, right? Not that I'm your father, but when I recognize that, that's when I will start to maybe shift how I deal with this particular client, with the way that I talk to him. It may be even more validating, right? Yeah, you messed up, but that's okay because look at what you did when you did A and you did B and you did C. You know how many men have broken down when I be like, yo, I'm proud of you. When we in the session, I dap them up, I bring them in, yo, I'm proud of you, man. And right there, we locked in for 10 to 15 minutes because I ain't gonna kick you out after that. Like, and that's the fathering, that's the approval from somebody who they would, we're all equal, but hey, I'm the expert in the room. And that's what a lot of us are missing. And so when you can give that to a young man early on and they know it's real, that's why like when I tell parents, yo, you want to send me a teenager? Cool. It's gonna take a while because in the beginning we just chopping it up. I need them to trust me. I ain't working on what you want me to work on, mom. Dad, we gonna build this thing how we build this thing and when I feel like we ready. So it's probably I need at least 3-4 months before I even start. And if we can't give me that, take them somewhere else. Cause I gotta build that bond with them. I gotta find that touch point to where it's like, okay, boom, now we locked in. Now he can go ahead and receive from me because okay, he ain't just here because my mama and them want me here. And I'm like, hey, why you think you here? My mom and them be tripping you. I feel you, man. I remember my mom used to do. What? What's that? So now we joking because we are acknowledging the differences. But I'm meeting him where he at. I'm letting him know that you ain't here because you in trouble. This could possibly be a good thing. What you want to talk about? I've been listening to all types of rap music that I don't know what the people be saying, but I'm gonna sit there and vibe with them, and I'm gonna say, now you gotta listen to one of mine. You know what I mean? I'm gonna throw some of that Sam Cooke on 'em. You know what I mean? Something like that. And he like, yo, you tripping? But now we actually bonding, and that's the piece. That's that fathering that we didn't really get. Somebody who wants to just bond with us for us and not try to change us or manipulate us or want something from us.
Right.
Adrian, great point on the fathers and the bringing up of the being okay to have sort of that emotion. I'll do a quick intro. Byron Garcia, father of two, divorced, been doing it on my own. Had some help for some time, and now I'm doing it alone again. Um, one question a question or a comment, I'm not sure which, but do you feel like we're sort of, as we're going into later generations, that we're making it okay for boys and men to say, like, it's okay for you to have emotions, and we're sort of making it okay to ask for help. So that's one of the things that for me it heartens me because I've done some of my work, not only for my children but also for myself. But I'm wondering what your perspective is in terms of making it okay for us men to be able to say, you know what, I need help. I don't have all the answers. Let me go to somebody like yourselves to try to figure these out. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. And so the question is like, are we making it okay for us to do that more?
Yeah, just
Yeah, absolutely.
generationally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think things are really shifting. Now, my fear is, and this is where I have to catch myself and be mindful of, Adrian, is just because of this is the work that you do. Cause now I'm kind of getting tired of the emotions and I feel we have to start shifting to action.
What do we do about it?
Right now, yeah, you feel great. I'm proud of you. That was a big thing. Now stop letting how you feel dictate how you move and the decisions that you make. That's my, but honestly, y'all, I'm still working with it because I'm like, Adrian, it's not time yet. There's millions of men who still need to hone in on the feelings piece. So don't just start, nah, let's move straight to action. But it is important. And I'm glad you have done the work, Byron. That's a big thing to go from being married with kids and to have to build over. I had to do that. And I tell people it was the worst and best thing ever because I learned that I was broken before I was even married and I really didn't love myself. So I had to go on like that journey and open that up. So shout out to you, man, for continuing to do the work, for continuing to show up. And even though you probably already know this, I encourage you to be patient with yourself. You're literally doing the best you can and still reaching out, asking for help. Like you're the model. You're the model that we need to follow. So shout out to you.
Absolutely. And just to second that, I just feel like I always ask others, how are you pouring back into your cup? How are you walking in your purpose? How are you treating yourself the way you want others to treat you? Because if people see you loving you the way you want to be loved, then they respect that. I see how this person's carrying themselves, so I want to honor that. So part of it is modeling the behavior for the youth that don't know how to get to that point. That if we have a framework, we can model that behavior for them. So modeling, right? Role playing, but also worthy of life is important. There's three concepts to worthy of life. It's activity fulfillment, it is feelings management, and sense of belonging. So a sense of community. Community matters. There are strengths in numbers, and it really does take a village to cultivate and push someone towards purpose. But you have to find your people, right? The people that resonate with what you believe and how that is going to live out in this world. So I think all of that kind of has to play into it. But it's also recognizing capacity, capacity to love yourself, but also capacity to love others. It's recognizing that sometimes the people that we love don't have the capacity to love us the way that we love them. So we have to recognize that if relationships are about give and take, sometimes the give and take is 90-10, 60-40, 50-50, 70-30, that there's always, in some regards, someone's going to be giving more than the other. So love language becomes important, not just with a partner, but I say care language. I say love language, care language, but also how do you show up and love on the people that you work with? How do you show up and love on the people that you go to school with, that you're in the community with? What does that look like for you? So we're talking about words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, physical touch, and quality time at the love languages. How do you
Love
like
that
to
you're focusing
receive
on the
and
five
give love?
languages.
They're important. They're very, very important. But it's first, you have to start with how are you showing up and loving yourself?
One of the quotes that I've recently heard is that one of the most important relationships that you have is the one that you don't necessarily learn how to do until much later, is that relationship with yourself.
Hmm.
Because, just like in the airplane, you got to put on your oxygen mask first before you help the person next to you.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Well, I am curious for just the men here in general. Where are you seeing people do it well in regards to mental health and support, whether or not it's in person or virtually? Where are you seeing people do it well? So, what would be some of your recommendations on this? Might be part of your integrated practice. This might be part of just how you continue to find yourself connected and plugged in. And again, it doesn't have to be a social media like account. It could be very well a practice that you are integrating in your way. And of course, gentlemen, if you want to plug your genius, feel free.
Okay. Like where we do our work, you're asking?
So my question is, in essence, what are some of your common recommendations for folks
Okay.
who you're working with? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for self-care, I tell people that don't ever look at us, please don't look at us as fixers. That's not our job. We're not here to fix, but we are here to guide. I'm gonna lead you to the water, but you decide to drink it. I don't have a horse in the race. It doesn't mean that I'm not caring about your journey. It just means that I'm sitting in the back seat with my pom-poms, like, go you, but you're driving that car. So essentially, it's really about helping clients first recognize that behaviors that they want to modify are going to be changed over time. There's no overnight remedy from getting from pain to healing. It is a journey, and there's going to be some setbacks in that journey. So first is recognizing that if we use a harm reduction model, gradually over time, we're getting to healed, healed. We're getting there, but it's going to take some time. So I think for me, I use a lot of dialect. I'm a dialectical behavioral therapist, DBT. So I use a lot of that in my practice for my clients that have intense emotions and things kind of going on. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else. I would just say that I offer a lot of resources in terms of activities as well. I feel like activities are really, really big for sense of belonging is important for men, sense of belonging. Find your communities, get involved in whatever that is. That is definitely going to be super important to your healing because whatever you do outside of therapy that provides some sense of fulfillment should correlate with the work that you're doing in therapy. They should be working side by side together, like the Power Rangers building the dinosaur at the end, fighting the big monster.
That's self love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's rare that I will give somebody a recommendation right first. First, you got to go find it. We got the internet. We got Chat GPT. Punch in there and look at some things, right? Because I'm trying to teach you how to solve problems, not solve them for you. So if you like, well, hey, how do I go about, what are some things I could do? Do me a favor right quick. Jump on Chat GPT, Google. I want you to look for some things that you might like doing and then come back and then let's explore that. Well, hey, you got any books or something I know? Hey, jump on Chat GPT or reach out to some people and find some books, and then you come back to me with something. And depending on what you find, what you think will work, what you think is not working, something you may have, then I'll give you a recommendation off of that. But you got to put in some work. You got to make more of an investment up front before I'm about to just give you everything. And now you using up the resources and you ain't even dedicated. I need to see you got some skin in the game before I start giving you access to certain things. Now, if it's somebody who's reaching out to me in the North Carolina area, though, hey, I need a black male therapist. Black male therapist in Charlotte, right? That's literally a nonprofit that Guy Maurice put together. I'm actually on the board there, a black male therapist, and we just funnel people. We send people to each other. We serve the community. We put in on events, etc. So some things like that, cool. I'm gonna throw you this right here. Book or something on marriage, Dr. Miles Monroe, you can't go wrong, right? But I'd rather give them a skill set. Hey, what you want to do is research it, right? You could do Google reviews, you can jump on not Twitter, whatever they call it now. Hey, what are some recommendations on this? But you want to see who did it, like do some investigation into who wrote it, or even with the podcast and stuff that y'all are looking at, make sure these people are living what it is that they are talking about. It doesn't stand the test of time. Oh, they've been talking about this for 6 months. You can't find nothing on them after 6 months. Does that seem wise? Or you got somebody who's been over here doing the thing for 10, 7, 8 years, right? These are things to look at when making a decision. So that's typically when I start, because especially early on, I feel like anything is going to be helpful because it's going to be new. So it's going to be a learning experience for them, right? Hey, if you struggling with depression and anxiety, there's a million books that can help at least get us started on that journey. So I think it will be more beneficial to get them diving and looking and researching and knowing how to test things and improve their decision making. I think that piece goes a further way.
If I could add my layperson's approach to this, the one thing that I would say, like, in sort of a piggybacks on what the two of you gentlemen have been saying, is like, find your tribe. Find somebody that like you can lean in. I was blessed enough to find Craig at a critical point in my journey, find somebody that you can trust, and like, this is one of those points where vulnerability and asking for help and saying like, you know what, this is what I'm feeling. Having that connection, and that connection, building that tribe is absolutely essential, because nobody can do it alone, and don't be afraid to ask for help would be my recommendation.
I want to say one last thing, because I was gonna mention it when Professor C was talking, but then Byron, you brought it back up, and I wanted to. This is gonna be like my final point, my final thought, right? Stop seeking love from the people who don't want to give it to you. And it goes back to your tribe. Everybody, I'm a firm believer. I stand on it. We're going to stamp it and say it's a fact. There are people who are meant to love you and support you unconditionally. Find them. And just because there are people who don't, who use you, who abuse you, that does not determine your value. Keep looking, because once you find those people, life changes, and it's out there for everyone. Please, y'all, stop wanting people to love you who were not meant to, and find the people who will love you genuinely right where you are.
Yeah, not everybody likes tea, but some people do.
Absolutely. And what I will say is that you get to recognize, well, you can work with us in recognizing the things that you can't control and what you can't control. And that, even that is a journey, right? That you don't come to recognizing those things overnight either. But hopefully you get to a place, if we go back to what I said earlier, creating your story arc, that do you want to be the hero or the villain in your story? Do you choose love or do you choose hate? Do you recognize that you are not your circumstances? You are not your trauma. Those things are not your identity. They are stepping stones to get you to growth. So from that standpoint, those things, adversity becomes a chapter in your book. and not the whole story.
Craig, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, probably because God wanted me to calm down because I was like, Adrian wants to say something. I feel it. Uh, for those who want to like be in your ecosystem, something feels well in their spirit. There's something you said, something that resonates. You provoked them to action. How would you want them to be connected to you?
You could reach me with my website, ajwtherapy.com, or reach out to me on Instagram at Adrian White 23. I'm a little different, right? All my stuff is not separate. I feel like I am me. So I do coaching, I do therapy. You can see a little bit of how I move in different spaces. But those are the ways. Feel free. If I might not respond back to you the first day, but I promise you I will respond back to you. And I'm not gonna promise that I'll help you, but I'll point you in the direction of someone who can.
And I would say definitely use email for me as well. First, I'm gonna give you three. First email is A, as in the first letter of my name, Alan. A Chest, my last name, CHEST 89@gmail.com, or Chest Alan Michael @gmail.com, or PC Mental Movements @gmail.com. Those are the three emails that I can be reached up.
And I'm gonna make sure everybody get y'all information. Alan Michael, specifically, you just did a Father's Day poem that I'm going to be sending out and sharing with all the community that's coming up. Yes, yes. And super excited. Adrian, I'm like, I've gotten a whole lot more beautiful energy from you today, and just, hearing your passion 10 toes deep on the things that matter. Appreciate the fact that you are a man who, divinely is working with folks to stay in union and stay in relationship as well. And I think that is powerful work. We don't see many men doing that work, and it's so important and critical, because I really do wonder how many of us feel heard and seen if we are, and I'm not generalizing, I have a curiosity about that, right? How well do we feel seen and heard? But I feel loved in this space. We're going to close out with one word for the people. What is it that you are going to take with you in your spirit today? I'll give you up to 5 words, so you might have a whole phrase.
Lead, empower, cultivate.
Dang, that was good. You made me forget my words. I'm gonna say ask for help. Ask for help.
Byron, you got something you want to share with the world?
I guess I would say learn, grow, life more abundant. There's 5.
All right.
Awesome.
And I'll just share, always love your brave. That's it. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate y'all. I send so much love and light. I am excited to be in community with you, and excited to be making sure that folks in my community, my network, know that there is so much light in both of you. You're incredible gifts to our world. Glad that you said yes. And I am hopeful and prayerful and excited that people will receive this when they need it. And that they may get the kind of healing that they need. And maybe they choose to be in community with you as well. And for one of the best men I've ever had in my life, and taught me how to do all kinds of really interesting manly things that, are pretty awesome out in other countries. And, someone who has been beautifully serendipitous. I'm glad he joined as well. Oh, Lord. Yes. South America.
Some stories.
Central America was beautiful. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for the folks who are live. Thank y'all for staying as long as you did. We are going to send all of this out to the ether, so you'll see it soon. Please make sure you are connected to all of these beautiful men. And if there's anything you need, feel free to reach out. I'm sending y'all with love and light. Yes.
Amen.